This is a demonstration on wire tinning. So, tinning a wire. We're adding some solder to the bare wire before we solder that wire to anything. Um, this encourages the strands to stay tight and together, and it also encourages wetting down the line once we are using the wire in a project. So, we're going to add a drop or two of flux to our wire. Don't need a lot, just a little bit. We're going to switch cameras here to our microscope camera and grab our iron. Make sure we don't have a lot of solder on the tip of that. Grab our flux here, our solder wire. And we're going to apply heat to the long end, the furthest away from the insulation. Why that is because we want to discourage the solder from traveling all the way up the insulation. We want to tin the whole wire, but we don't want to create a hard, unbendable area inside and under the insulation. So we apply our heat at the end because the solder is going to want to follow the heat. So I'm going to add just a tad bit of solder to my tip to encourage heat transfer. Touch the tip, and then I am going to add my solder a little bit at a time, just like that. Okay. If I need to spread a little bit, I can go up and down just a tad and remove. You want to be able to see your strands when you're done tinning. You don't want to cover and encapsulate it so much to where you have no visual representation of the strands left, and I want to give an example of that. So this would be a light to the correct amount of tinning. I'm going to clean my soldering tip here. I'm going to add a little bit more solder to the tip, and then I'm going to fill this more than you should, and I want you to see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm adding a lot of solder here. Letting that dry or cool down, solidify. Now, you can still see the strands pretty good here because we're under the microscope, but they aren't as visual as they were earlier. And now, if I go back to our large camera and I try to bend this, that's as far down the insulation it wants to bend. So that means that we have that much more solder under the insulation, it traveling that far up. And we want to avoid that as much as possible. So doing a lighter to moderate amount of tinning is usually plenty.